Did you know? Ostrich eggs can hold over 250 pounds of pressure. That's approximately 113 kilograms, or about the weight of 2 average adult humans. How? First, it's their shape. The oval design works like an arch or a dome, spreading pressure evenly so the shell doesn't buckle. Like nature's own engineering marvel. Next, the shell itself is no pushover. It's up to 2.2 millimeters thick and made mostly of calcium carbonate. Think of it as nature's ceramic. Inside, the shell's microstructure is layered and precisely arranged, making it even tougher. This strength is vital. Like and subscribe for more fun facts. Ostriches are heavy birds, and both mom and dad take turns sitting on the eggs. But give the shell a sharp tap in just the right spot, and it cracks easily. So next time you see an ostrich egg, remember, it's the ultimate combo of strength and science. Did you know? During negative or traumatic events, the psychological immune system functions unconsciously. Just like your body fights off germs, your mind has its own way of defending you from emotional distress. When something bad happens, you might reframe the story, find a silver lining, or convince yourself you made the right choice all without even trying. You might even underestimate how much a setback will affect you, thanks to this mental safety net. But here's the twist: these defenses work unconsciously, quietly helping you bounce back, sometimes even creating synthetic happiness after a disappointment. So next time you recover from a rough patch faster than you expected, give your psychological immune system a silent high five. Did you know? Ice is technically considered a mineral. What makes a mineral? Well, a mineral. First, it has to form naturally. Second, it's got to be inorganic, meaning no help from plants or animals. Third, it needs to be solid at Earth's surface. Fourth, it has a specific chemical formula. Ice is good old H2O. And finally, its atoms have to be arranged in a neat repeating pattern. Ice crystals pass with flying colors. So natural ice checks every box. That means, drumroll, ice is officially a mineral. And when you get a giant mass of that mineral, like a glacier, it's geologically considered a rock. But here's where it gets even cooler. Geologists classify ice rocks just like any other type. Lake ice? That's like igneous rock, formed from cooling. Snowpacks? Sedimentary ice, built up in layers. And glacier ice? That's metamorphic, transformed by intense pressure over time. Did you know? Ostriches don't actually bury their heads in the sand. That classic myth comes from people spotting ostriches tending to their eggs. See, they dig shallow nests in the sand and use their beaks to turn their eggs. So, from far away it just looks like they're head first in the ground. And if danger's nearby and running isn't an option, they can sprint up to 45 miles per hour. By the way, they'll flop down and stretch their necks along the ground to blend in. So, next time someone says, "Don't bury your head in the sand," remember, ostriches never did. Did you know? Snails can stay dormant up to 3 years. This is a secret weapon these slowpokes employ against bad weather. When things get rough, too hot, too cold, or way too dry, snails don't just tough it out. They retreat inside their shells and seal themselves in with a special mucus door, called an epiphragm. Imagine boarding up your house and hibernating until conditions outside are just right. This isn't your average nap. Their heart rate slows, their bodies cool down, and they run on the tiniest bit of stored energy. Sometimes if the weather stays harsh, a snail can wait things out for months, or even up to 3 years. But don't confuse this epic power down with regular sleep. Dormancy is about survival, not just catching Z's. So next time you see a snail, remember, you might be looking at a tiny marathon sleeper just waiting for the perfect moment to make a comeback. Did you know? The yo-yo is one of the oldest toys in history. The yo-yo's roots go all the way back to ancient Greece, around 440 BC. Kids back then played with wooden and terracotta versions and sometimes even offered them to the gods. Some believe a yo-yo cousin existed in China as early as 1000 BC. But get this, in the Philippines, yo-yos were once used as hunting weapons. Imagine a yo-yo with a sharp stone swinging from a treetop. By the 18th century, Europe's high society was hooked, with everyone from Scottish lords to Napoleon spinning away for stress relief. Flash forward to the 1920s. Filipino immigrant Pedro Flores made yo-yos a US craze, and soon, yo-yo became a household name. So next time you rock the cradle, remember, you're part of a history that's anything but child's play. Did you know? Play-Doh was originally created as a wallpaper cleaner. Back in the 1930s, a company in Cincinnati invented a squishy putty to clean coal soot off wallpaper. Homes ran on coal, so soot was everywhere, and this stuff was perfect for gently lifting grime without wrecking your walls. Fast forward to the 1950s, heating systems got cleaner, washable wallpaper came in, and suddenly, no one needed the cleaner. The company was sinking fast until a clever teacher realized the putty was perfect for kids' art projects. She pitched the idea, call it Play-Doh, make it colorful, and voila, in 1956 the stuff that once cleaned walls was reborn as a modeling toy. Featured on TV, Play-Doh exploded in popularity and became a creative classic. So next time you pop open a can, remember, you're playing with a little piece of cleaning history. Did you know? In 1900, the global average life expectancy was just 32 years. Why? Well, kids back then had it rough. Infectious diseases like measles, smallpox, and tuberculosis were everywhere, and clean water was harder to find than a Wi-Fi signal at a campsite. Imagine a world without antibiotics, vaccines, or even reliable doctors. For many, surviving childhood was the biggest challenge. Fast forward to today, and the global average life expectancy has soared past 70. How did we pull that off? Thanks science for vaccines, antibiotics, and improved surgeries. Clean water, better food, and smarter hygiene made a huge difference. Plus, we got serious about public health. Think hand-washing posters and food safety rules. So the next time you gripe about a doctor's waiting room, remember, you're living proof that a little progress goes a long way. Did you know? Purple is the rarest color found on a flag. Historically, purple dye was so hard to make you needed tens of thousands of tiny sea snails just to get a single gram of pigment. That's a lot of snail mail. In fact, purple was once more valuable than gold, so only royalty and the very fancy could afford to wear it. Imagine telling your king, sorry, no purple flags, too expensive. Things changed in the 1850s when a teenage chemist accidentally invented synthetic purple dye. Suddenly, purple was everywhere, except still, on flags. Today, only a handful of national flags feature purple, like Dominica's Cicerú parrot, or the rainbows on the flags of Nicaragua, El Salvador, and Bolivia's Wapala. So next time you see a purple flag, remember, you're looking at a true rarity. Did you know? In mainland China, it is illegal to know the gender of your baby before birth. For decades, China struggled with a major gender imbalance. Thanks to a strong cultural preference for sons and the old one-child policy, there were way more baby boys being born than girls. To fight this, the government made it illegal for doctors to tell expectant parents if they're having a boy or a girl, unless there's a real medical reason, like checking for genetic diseases. Trying to sneak a peek just for curiosity? That could land doctors in serious trouble. Think fines, losing their license, even criminal charges. Still, some folks try to work around the law with underground clinics or by sending blood samples to Hong Kong, but in the end, these strict rules are all about preventing gender selection and balancing the scales, one baby at a time. Did you know? Your calf muscles act like a second heart. So your heart pumps blood out, but getting it back up from your feet is a whole other challenge thanks to gravity. Enter your calf muscles, the gastrocnemius and the soleus. When you walk or even just flex your foot, these muscles squeeze the deep veins in your legs. This action pushes blood upwards, and clever little one-way valves make sure it doesn't tumble back down. Without this calf pump, blood would pool in your legs, causing swelling and even raising your risk of varicose veins and blood clots. Keeping your calves active doesn't just help your legs, it actually lightens the load for your heart. So, if you want to boost your circulation and keep your second heart in tip-top shape, try walking, cycling, or even a few cheeky calf raises right now. Did you know? The United States has more museums than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. The United States has over 35,000 museums. That's more than all the McDonald's and Starbucks locations combined. Together, they add up to about 31,000. And these aren't just giant art or natural history museums. We're talking everything from local historical societies, quirky collections to science centers tucked away in small towns. Why so many? Because Americans love preserving stories. From vintage tractors to salt shakers, there's a museum for just about everything. Plus, these museums are community hubs, teaching, gathering, and celebrating local heritage, even in places where you might not find a Big Mac or a latte. So next time you spot a fast food joint, remember, there's probably a museum nearby, ready to surprise you. Did you know? Nepal is the only country in the world whose flag is not a rectangle. Nepal's flag is made up of two overlapping triangles, making it the only national flag that is not a quadrilateral. But it is not just about the shape. The triangles represent the majestic Himalaya mountains, as well as Nepal's two major religions, Hinduism and Buddhism. The crimson red? That is Nepal's national color, symbolizing bravery and the beautiful rhododendron flower. The blue border stands for peace and harmony. Look closely, and you will see a white moon and a white sun. The moon in the upper triangle represents calmness and the cool weather of the Himalayas, while the sun in the lower triangle stands for fierceness and the heat of the southern plains. The flag's exact proportions and design are written with mathematical precision in Nepal's constitution. Did you know? The word villain comes from Latin for farmhand. The word comes from the Latin villanus, meaning someone who worked on a villa. Basically, a farmhand or peasant. As the term traveled through Old French and into Middle English, it described common folk, those tied to the land and serving the nobility. But here is where classism sneaks in. The aristocrats, thinking themselves morally superior, started using villain to mean not just someone of low status, but someone of low morals. Over time, calling someone a villain was less about where they lived, and more about how rotten they supposedly were. By Shakespeare's day, a villain was no longer just a poor farmer, but a true scoundrel, the kind of character who would tie someone to railroad tracks. And by the 19th century, villain became the go-to term for the bad guy in stories and plays. So next time you boo the villain, remember, they might just be a misunderstood farmer. Like and subscribe for more fun facts.